Weekdays from 6 to 8 on 940 and 1510 ESPN Radio.
Coach Tony.
Okay, folks, you are back with Hey Coach Tony. Maura, you have been an amazing guest, and I'm going to give you the option of sticking around and risking some discomfort or heading for the hills, because guess what, folks? We are in our last segment of the show, and I just got to get to this. It is time to talk about what grinds my gears. And you know what really grinds my gears? Listening to Jason Whitlock and his pie hole spewing nonsensical crap on a nonstop basis. Now, those of you, some of you may remember, just a couple weeks ago, we talked about whether or not college athletes should get paid. And I pointed to the HBO special on Real Sports, where Whitlock made a complete mongo out of himself by positioning himself as the Jerry Maguire of inner city kids everywhere. And I'm not going to get into all that again. But this week, Jason Whitlock pisses me off once again. So again, unless you live under a rock, you probably heard that Pittsburgh Steelers running back Rashard Mendenhall, shortly after it was announced, and by the way, I am as big a Pittsburgh Steelers fan as is walking the planet, but shortly after it was announced that we caught Osama bin Laden and he had been killed, Mendenhall goes on Twitter and voices his displeasure in a manner that deemed quite offensive by most Americans. Now, wouldn't you know it, as soon as things start to settle down a little bit, and as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm starting to catch my breath, this dope Whitlock decides that there wasn't enough controversy around this, and so he assumes the position of Mongo for the defense on behalf of Rashard Mendenhall. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article because, quite frankly, I don't think I can choke back my own vomit long enough to finish this piece of trash. But let me go over a few excerpts here. And Maura's turned a little bit red, but bear with me. Whitlock, and again, I'm not going to read all this stuff, but he admits to tweeting a few sentiments of his own, outlining both the elation for the accomplishments of our servicemen and women in eliminating bin Laden, but also shame for feeling that elation over the death of another person. I can dig that. I'm okay with it. But of course, he quickly turns that into sympathy for poor Rashard Mendenhall. By the way, if you never heard the tweets from Mendenhall, I'll read those. And they go as such. What kind of person celebrates death? It's amazing how people can hate a man they have never even heard speak. We've only heard one side. Well, really? Rashard, have you not owned a television set since like 2001, or are you really just that stupid? I've heard him speak. Maura's heard him speak. 99% of the people on this planet have heard him speak. Like when he took such delight in his success in destroying the Twin Towers and taking the lives of several thousand people. That's just dumb right there, and I don't know who's going to support that statement. Next statement is, I believe in God. I believe we're all his children, and I believe he is the one and only judge. Those who judge others will also be judged themselves. Well, sounds like Rashard Mendenhall's doing quite a bit of judging on his own, and, come down off your soapbox. The next tweet was, for those of you who said you want to see bin Laden burn in hell and, I'm going to have to paraphrase here, pee on his ashes, I ask, how would God feel about your heart? The next one, there's not an ignorant bone in my body. I just encourage you to think. All right, Mendenhall, I, again, die-hard Steelers guy. And while I enjoy, and I will continue to enjoy watching you score touchdowns this year, let me tell you, you really just took something away from all those touchdowns from me and from millions of other Steeler fans, brother. Your body is littered. You don't have an ignorant bone in your body? Your body is littered with ignorant bones. Dude, you could use a marrow transplant.
Tony, I want to know how this guy learns all the offensive plays, because he is an idiot. I mean, really. Right? Those gotta be sophistication in the NFL, and he is a complete idiot.
And you use the word sophistication. That's the only thing Whitlock said right. Whitlock tries to say that this guy's intelligent but lacks sophistication. No. Sorry. Obviously lacks sophistication, but there's nothing intelligent about anything that was said here. And by the way, if you're not convinced that he doesn't have a high level of intelligence, I'm going to read the last one. And I quote, we'll never know what really happened. He's alluding to 9/11. I just have a hard time believing a plane could take a skyscraper down demolition style. Now again,
do you have a TV?
Yeah, do you have a television set?
Ding, ding, ding.
Or do you, maybe He's the ultimate, conspiracy theorist and thinks that the planes crashed into the World Trade Center as a diversion so that U.S. government officials could sneak in with dynamite and blow the building up.
Yeah.
I mean, how stupid is this guy? You are a moron. But anyway, so I agree, as the ultimate Steelers fan, that Rashard Mendenhall is not only offensive, he's a moron. I hope he scores 1 million touchdowns, but I tell you what, I'm going to be cheering for the team. I'm not going to be cheering for Mendenhall, and I am not alone. I know it. But anyway, this guy Whitlock describes these statements as harmless comments. Harmless, really. You know what? Tell that to the wife and kids of my high school buddy Steven Siller. A lot of people around the country know who Steven Siller is. This is the guy, New York firefighter, was forced to hustle his butt to ground zero on his day off, on his way to play golf with his brothers. The guy stopped at the Battery Tunnel because he couldn't get into the city, had 150 pounds of gear, ran through the tunnel, got there just in time for them to collapse. The guy left 4 children behind and a wife. Now, you tell me these are harmless statements. Dope.
Oh, he's getting hot.
I'm getting hot under the collar. It's what happens. Last segment. You know how it works. Whitlock goes on to say, and I do quote, "As best I can tell, Mendenhall is a young person with a sincere thirst for knowledge and understanding. He's uncomfortable with violence and the celebration of it. He's cynical. He's spiritual. He's unafraid to speak his mind and seek passionate debate. Whitlock, do us all a favor and save your inner city boo-hoo crap for the people who want to hear it. I don't, and a lot of others don't. Stop trying to create these not-so-subtle racial battles where they simply don't exist." The title of this piece is, and I quote, "Mendenhall is an easy target." What Whitlock doesn't say is because he's a black athlete. If you've watched this guy or read anything he does, you know what? That's his M.O. And I'll give you this, though. You know what? You are right. But why is he an easy target? Because he took a cheap shot at one of the most unifying events in American history, and he made light of it, and he actually mocked it. This Whitlock guy is making a living by drawing a line in the sand between blacks and whites. If I did that, I'd get fired. But this guy's out there selling bigotry fodder in many shapes and forms. When he talks about black athletes or coaches or owners, he talks about issues like there's something owed back. When he talks about the general personality types that he doesn't like, and when he's got to find an antagonist in one of his articles, it's the white devil. It's going back to the days of Malcolm X. It's the white devil stuff. In this case, the evil folks in the media who are crucifying Mendenhall are personified in the form of Rush Limbaugh. I don't know why. Why didn't he point to ESPN's own Stephen A. Smith? I love Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is one of my favorite guys on ESPN. Stephen A. Smith went on a rampage bashing Mendenhall for the way he represented himself. Why didn't he point to Stephen A. Smith? Gee, I wonder. God, even when discussing the high road approach that Art Rooney took, and Art Rooney is the owner and CEO of the Steelers, even when discussing the high road approach that Rooney took when addressing this issue, Whitlock made derogatory statements. If I'm the owner of the Steelers, is there any possible way that I can avoid making a statement about what this idiot did? Can you imagine if I own the Steelers, Mendenhall says this, can I possibly not make a statement?
No, I think you have to make a statement.
You got to make a statement,
because he's
exactly.
not representative of the entire Steelers.
Precisely.
Organization.
Well, of course not. But how does Whitlock position it? I'll give you his exact words. And I quote, "In the interest of business and good public relations, Steelers owner Art Rooney II took the bait." Whitlock, you are just a dope. If he took the bait, then please enlighten us in your next article and tell us what you would have done if you were the owner of the Steelers. Now, of course, you didn't do that so far because you would have done what anybody with a brain would have done and had to do. You'd have addressed the media, and that is what Rooney did. Hardly taken the bait. But, I guess without a white devil, you don't got any. You have nothing to write or talk about. How the hell do you even collect a paycheck? My God. You know what? Actually, I know. Was that Jason Whitlock hanging up on me? I know how you collect a paycheck. You talk about how Mendenhall's comments are only newsworthy because he's an easy target. Everything that you say or write is based on that same premise. You're racially controversial for the sake of being racially controversial, and that sells the same way. You're as big a sellout as any of the white devils that are out there, dude, and you make me sick.
Okay, don't hold back, Tony. I got to go read Jason Whitlock's pieces now.
Oh, you got to look up Jason Whitlock. Go look at the HBO special that he did on Real Sports. Good God. Good God. All right, folks. Well, listen, I got to tell you, it was and has been an absolute treat having Maura Fletcher in the studio with me. I love some of your philosophies about coaching. I love more of your philosophies about parenting. I certainly want to wish you a happy Mother's Day. Thank you for being in studio.
Thank you for having me.
And obviously from my wife. And hey, in the sentiment of Ralph Kiner, for all you moms out there, happy birthday. We'll see you guys next week.